Advocacy groups claim nonviolent participants of the January 6th Capitol protests continue to be held in solitary confinement in harsh conditions by the DOJ. One America's chief White House correspondent Chanel Rion has more on this from Washington.
All right, we're here with Executive Director from Look Ahead America, Matt Braynard. Matt, thank you for joining us.
Happy to be here.
You have several initiatives that you're pushing through Look Ahead America, but the most upcoming and most pressing one is, at this moment, the issue of individuals who are being detained right now because they participated in nonviolent ways in the January 6th protest at the Capitol. You have long cited that the DOJ is weighing very heavily on these individuals. Tell us more about what the latest is on individuals who are still in custody, still in prison right now for participating in January 6th.
Sure, there are many Americans who still aren't even facing charges, who have been sitting in solitary confinement for months, in some cases deprived of medicine or communications. And beyond that, there have been hundreds of Americans who have been persecuted by our Department of Justice and the FBI, who committed no violent acts and are, by most standards of the law, innocent. But they've been hounded by the FBI. They've had charges brought against them. They've lost jobs. They've gone through extreme financial distress. In many cases, they've struggled to find attorneys because attorneys are afraid to take their cases. So this has been an ongoing problem since January 6th. It's really not about upholding the law, because we've seen this type of disruption happen at the Senate many times before during the Trump administration, when individuals were trying to block and obstruct the passage of Justice Kavanaugh. These individuals are let off with just a slap on the wrist, sometimes a $35 or $50 fine, and released the same day. But instead, after January 6th, these individuals, many of whom simply walk through an open door of a public building with no knowledge of it being wrong at all, which is required for it to be a crime, are being hunted and having their faces put up on billboards like they're some kind of domestic terrorists. And that's the narrative that the left is pushing, is that there was this great insurrection by these domestic terrorists to try to overthrow our government. And it was nothing of the sort. And the only reason these people are being pursued this way is because of their political beliefs. It has nothing to do with anything they actually did among this, hundreds of nonviolent offenders who participated in the protests that day.
Give us a sense of the scale here. How many people are you talking about when you cite individuals who are being held in solitary confinement?
Currently, that number is in the dozens. Fortunately, a lot of individuals have been released, sometimes with extraordinary bond. But even that fight for bond has been difficult. Again, these are typically, if they were left-wing protesters protesting something President Trump was doing, they would have been let out with a $35 fine. But in these cases, the Department of Justice is fighting to deny them even bail. And we're asking for bail of like $500,000 or $1 million, which many of them can't reach. So, and not only that, are people being held in solitary confinement, we're finding out now that many of them are being abused or showing up with black eyes, and the Justice Department and the judges they're going before don't seem to care at all.
There's some interesting allies that have suddenly jumped on board. You have Democrat Senator Elizabeth Warren speaking out against the solitary confinement practices that are being imposed on certain individuals who participated in that day. Does that surprise you?
I have to give credit where credit is due. And it's not just her, but Nancy Pelosi herself and Dick Durbin have spoken out in opposition to many of these people being held in individual confinement for months and months on end. Again, in many cases, not even facing charges. What's really disappointing, though, is that there are a lot of voices that are absent on this front.
What is the next step in getting the word out from your perspective?
Well, the next step is rather unusual for one for us. We are holding a rally this Saturday, June 19th at noon, right at the Department of Justice in Washington, D.C., to confront the department directly and raise the issue of these people's cases being ignored by our political leaders, of the solitary confinement issues, of issues surrounding the death of Ashley Babbitt, and the hundreds of innocent Americans who've had their lives turned upside down, in many cases destroyed, have lost jobs, faced incredible hardship as a result of political persecution by the Department of Justice and the FBI. So I encourage everybody to join us at this rally. Again, it's this Saturday at noon at the Department of Justice in Washington, D.C. We have more information about it at lookaheadamerica.org/rally.
Matt Braynard, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to tracking this story as it progresses.
Thank you for having me.
Want to see more videos like this? Visit OANN.com for immediate access to all the clips you've been waiting to see.